Welcome back. You are still watching NTV Weekend Edition. In Talk of the Nation tonight, we are focusing on renewable energy. And the National Renewable Energy Platform serves as the central coordinating body for Uganda's renewable energy sector. Established by stakeholders across the renewable energy landscape and hosted at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, we are joined by Dr. Nichola Mukisa, a coordinator of the National Renewable Energy Project under the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, to make us understand how efforts of promoting renewable energy use are progressing. Good evening to you, Doctor, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting me this evening.
So we are speaking renewable energy, sure. But for the benefit of our discussion and also the benefit of our viewer, what do we mean when we talk about renewable energy?
Well, thank you very much. Renewable energy is energy that does not get depleted or run out, and this ranges from hydro energy, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal. And hydro, I think, rather than the seasonality and the drought that we are affected by, we always have running river. I think the Nile has been running as time memorable.
Right.
So we are able to generate our electricity throughout. Unlike the non-renewables, where you say you have a source, a well where you found the oil, or where you have coal and it's been exploited and it has run out. So we shall have water flowing forever. Then solar, the sun comes out every day. So it's renewable that every day you expect to have the sun coming out. Wind, you know, the winds are always blowing. Of course, the valley in their speed, it's not everywhere, unlike the compared it to solar. Like in Uganda, it's mainly in the Karamoja region, but we have it coming every now and again. Then the geothermal, you're talking about, like maybe the common terminology we have is Chitagata, the hot springs.
Hot springs.
Yes, so these hot springs will continue to flow over. Even for the next decade when we are already gone, people coming after us will find the geothermal sources available. So those are the renewables that, and also they do not have an effect on the environment. So you don't have emissions. You know, you're looking at the friendliness on the environment around us. Of course, there's also biomass, and biomass, the definition varies depending on who you talk to. But of course, the main one is sustainable biomass utilization.
Okay.
If it's sustainably utilized, then it's renewable, because you give time the next round of a woodlot to grow for use. If you don't sustainably use it, it's not renewable, because it will be deprived.
Okay.
Yes.
And so now the conversations around renewable energy, before we came on air, we were just talking about this span way back in the 1900s. And also you did have the energy policy that was founded in 2007. And you said it was overrun by events, and now you are going by the 2023 new policy. And so based off that record, how is our status like in terms of adapting to the renewable energy? Because this is something that it may have been in talks for a long time, but very new to many Ugandans. Yes.
Well, Uganda is one of those countries that actually is about 98% reliant on renewable energy. Like I've described that hydro is one of the renewables.
Yes.
And if you look at the installed capacity of over 2,000 megawatts as a country we have, over 1,900 is from hydro sources. So that tells you that we are closely entirely renewable, and maybe that's why most people talk about the national grid as, if I'm not on the hydro power, because they perceive that the grid is entirely hydro and renewable. But
so many Ugandans are using the renewable energy, but they are not aware they use
exactly
it. For example,
because all the dams, all the hydro power we're generating as a country is from the renewables, like I've described.
Yes.
It's renewable. But people confuse that electricity on the grid and the one from solar. They consider the other one is only hydro, or they say, if I don't want to use hydro and I want to use solar, I want to use solar. It's national grid. That's what I want to say. But the national grid is largely hydro, and that's renewable. Then, of course, now we have a couple of solar plants that have come on the grid. We have a Kabulasoke, which is about 20 megawatts. We have a plant in Soloti, which is 10 megawatts. There's another plant in Tororo, which is also 10 megawatts. And these have come onto the grid to support generation. And also there are several other mini grids, of course, knowing that the biggest share of our population lives out of urban areas.
Yes.
And some of the times maybe they don't have access. So there are mini grids that have been set up in some of these rural areas, even islands, where people have been able now to access electricity powered by solar systems. Then, of course, now there are discussions ongoing on, developing the geothermal potential as well as the wind potential in the Karamoja region. So I think largely renewable is the way to go, especially on the electricity side of our country.
Okay. And when you speak of renewable energy, there is something that goes without saying, which is clean cooking.
Yes.
And it is a good idea, but it tends to be very, very expensive, especially, like we've been saying, to the rural communities. And as you encourage them to adapt or to embrace the renewable energy, there is also that factor. So what methods are you then employing to ensure that more and more households can afford the clean cooking items, for example, the electric or solar cookers, and etc., etc.?
Well, I think it's no longer just about encouraging people to use clean cooking. We know how our environment has been affected. This country, over 88% of us rely on biomass for cooking, charcoal and firewood.
Yes. And
I'm sure you know about the presidential directive on production of charcoal for commercial use. I think it's Directive Order 3 that was issued in May 2023. Banning the sale of charcoal in urban areas, from the northern region. And this has escalated the prices of charcoal in Kampala. I think now the price has doubled since then. So we're also talking about the benefits. Before we look at the direct costs that come in with maybe buying an electric pressure cooker, buying a solar cooker, there is an indirect cost you incur. There are several diseases that emanate from use of biomass, of charcoal. Indoor air pollution, for example, in Uganda, accounts for about 23,000 deaths every year. That's a number that dies every year because of indoor air pollution. Now, when you look at these places, some of our houses, even here in urban areas, we live in small rooms. You're cooking in one corner, you're sleeping in the other corner. You have a stove, a charcoal stove in one corner, you're inhaling carbon monoxide, which is very dangerous to your health. So I've talked about the earth, talk about the environment, and you can ask every farmer. You don't need to tell about climate change. We all live to see it because the seasons have changed. The times we used to forecast rainfall, there's no rain. So if you don't come in to irrigate, to provide alternative ways of growing your crops, it's gone. In 1990s, this country had about 24% of its surface area covered in indigenous forests. But now the number is around 12%.
Because of degradation. We've
cut down the trees and mostly we've planted eucalyptus. The two cannot compare, the indigenous and the current and the eucalyptus that we grow. Now, also, it's time saving. When you talk about cooking on electricity, for example, you're able to cook in less than 30 minutes. Your food is ready. Matoke, talk about beef in 30 minutes. And for example, some of the products we are promoting, the electric cooking pressure cookers, the EPCs, as we abbreviate them, electric pressure cooker, you're able to cook, for example, molokoni, the cattle hooves, in about 60 minutes. That 60 minutes is roughly 1 unit of electricity. When you talk about a unit of electricity, inclusive of the taxes, VAT, inclusive of averaged service fee of a month, it could go up to 1,000. So if you've used 1,000 to cook molokoni in an hour, how much money do you use to cook molokoni on a stove? On charcoal, it could go to 4,000.
Yes, charcoal of about 5,000.
Exactly. So you've used 1,000 against 4,000. Who has saved? So it's not an aspect of expenditure. It's very expensive, but it's also an appreciation. What value does it come with? Not many people have known that you can cook on electricity in a shorter time, but also on less money. So it's not expensive, but it's a perception, and we've been undertaking campaigns across the country to sensitize people. And it's exciting. Wherever we've gone and we've engaged with the public, demonstrated how these appliances work, the mindset has changed. Prior, they would tell you it's expensive.
Yeah, because that's what they thought.
But when they experience, because some of these gadgets have even electric meters embedded in them. So you can see that you're cooking meat for 30 minutes, and it also tells you how much energy it has consumed.
And now that you've said you've gone on ground, as we conclude our conversation, what does Uganda's future of your renewable energy look like 10 years from now? Well,
I think we shall continue having renewables the dominant source of energy for the country. There are several discussions, of course, like I've mentioned, for the rural electrification, which are targeting mini grids, solar home system. There are several initiatives by the government to ensure that everyone is electrified. So renewable is here and here to stay.
All right. Dr. Nichola Mukisa, the coordinator of the National Renewable Energy Project under the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, helping us to understand how the efforts of promoting renewable energy and how they are progressing. And with that conversation, we stop for another break. When we return, we'll be hearing from the world of sport.